Before we get into the topic of today's video, I'm going to show you a little bit about how this pistol works, because it is a little bit weird for those of you who haven't seen it before. And I'm also going to show you a close-up look at the ammunitions that we're looking at today. So this is the Nagant Revolver. This one was made in 1936, so this one is not a World War I veteran, but it is a World War II veteran. Now the way that this pistol works has a gate loader on the side, so you put the rounds in the gate, close that up. Then, when you either pull the trigger, because it has double action, or cock the hammer, the cylinder is going to do the normal thing, rotate. However, it is also going to push the cylinder forward. So, looking at this ammunition, here is a unfired round, and here is a spent round. I'm not going to put the unfired round into the chamber, but you can see that the bullet is down inside of there, and it is recessed inside of the case. Even more so than it would be with like a wadcutter. When I pull the hammer back, the case is going to be pushed forward so that the front of the case is inside of the forcing cone, and the back of the case is being held by that piece back there I showed you just a second ago. We're gonna pull it back, okay, rotate it, and then pushes forward. So the back of the case is right there, being held by that little piece, that little plunger. And then the front of the case is right here inside of the forcing cone. Now this gives this revolver a gas seal. The brass expands when you fire, and that is why the case looks so very different from the case before. And that seals in the gas so that all of the gas goes out the barrel. So there is no cylinder, well there is still cylinder gap, but when you actually fire it, it's as if there is no cylinder gap like an autoloader. Now, this was originally done to get a little bit more velocity shooting out of the barrel there, and it has the side effect that these guns can be suppressed, which is something that people point out in every video if I don't mention it. Let's look at some taken apart rounds and show you the rounds that we're looking at today. Okay, so the one I just showed you is the military round. The most common thing you'll see today is this PPU ammo. Now, I should have thought about that better. When we compare it to the military round, you'll see the military round has a taper, and the modern PPU round has a crimp at the end that holds the bullet in. The bullet also has a bit of a wider tip there, and is a little bit more, less recessed inside the case. It's closer to the surface. So here are the bullets for the PPU round here in my left hand, and the military round here in my right hand. These bullets are a little bit torn up. It is really hard to get these out of the case. You can't use a conventional bullet puller. The military round is a little bit longer, and the PPU round is 98 grains. The one I measured here is 99.2 grains. The military round is 105.2 grains, so probably meant to be a 105 grain bullet. And then our last bullet we're looking at today is this really interesting Target Wadcutter. This round is 100.5 grains, so probably meant to be a 105 grain bullet. It is a hollow base Wadcutter. And then when I pull this out, you'll see that the Wadcutter is really far recessed inside of the case. The PPU ammo has a 99.2 grain bullet. The military ammo has a 105.2 grain bullet, and then the target ammo has a 100.5 grain bullet. For the powder with the PPU, we have the 3.2 grains, and it is a flake powder. Both of these two are an extruded powder. The military is 4.4 grains, and then the target is 1.7 grains. So, as you will probably expect, the military ammo is really hot, the PPU ammo is pretty mild, and then this target ammo is very anemic. But how much so? Let's look at the chronograph testing, and also we're going to shoot some ballistic gel. But before we can get into that, I will be doing this whole review in single action, because here's the double action trigger. I'm surprised I hit that. Okay, so the first ammo I have is the PPU ammo, and that is loaded up and ready to go. Now I'm going to try and shoot the chronograph and the targets at the same time. The chronograph is at 7 yards, and the targets are at 10 yards. 648. 687. 644. 645. 648. 636. 692. Let's move on to our military surplus ammo. They're loaded back and forth in the box like this. 931, significantly more recoil. 894. 912. 898. 943. 881. So that had significantly more recoil. Now, something I've heard of is that the military ammo is easier to extract than the PPU because it is the ammo actually made for it and the crimp is different. So let's see how that goes. Huh, just fell out. Okay, let me take the cylinder out. That is really not wanting to come out. So other than this one that really didn't want to come out and the one that just fell out of the chamber, I honestly found it the exact same as the PPU ammo. No wonder that one just fell out. I only fired 6 shots. 809. Alright, last we have the lead wadcutters. 504, almost no recoil at all. 517. 522. 528. 516. 538. 466. Okay, so here's the PPU ammo here. These first 2 ones were my first shots with this gun in a long time. So I threw those ones out and just shot them again, and that's the actual 7 right there. You can tell there's a lot of horizontal stringing. Some of that might have been me because I haven't shot this gun in a long time and it has a horrendous trigger even in single action. Here's the military ammo, and it's not a bad group, maybe 2.5 inches. But the target ammo is where it really knocked it out of the park. This one I pulled, that was just me, that was my last shot. But the other ones were these 6 right here. And they are about an inch. I mean, if you go probably middle to middle, which is how you're supposed to score these kinds of things, you're probably inside the size of a quarter, which is just really, really cool. So the target ammo had a really good accuracy. So that was our time on the range. I personally was most interested to see that our target ammo had a really, really tight group, which I thought was really cool. The PPU ammo had a velocity of 657 feet per second, the military ammo had a velocity of 895 feet per second, and the target ammo had a velocity of only 513 feet per second. That target ammo is very, very wimpy, and the PPU ammo is, at most, anemic. It is very, very weak. But it is just for taking out and shooting, so it doesn't really matter that it's a little bit lower velocity. That military ammo, however, is a 105 grain bullet moving at almost 900 feet per second. So puts it about at the point of like a spicy 380 or a weaker 9mm Luger. So that begs the question, how does this perform actually in the intended target? So we have some ballistic gel and we also have some water. Let's take a look.
Next, we're going to shoot the ballistic gel. I'm going to be honest, I'm expecting this to be really, really lame. So we're shooting it in the same order. PPU, military, target ammo. To see how it would perform against your average Russian conscript who thinks that charging in a machine gun nest with his bayonet is a lost cause. Okay, so all of these are really boring. Basically, it just went straight through. Now, it does look like the target ammo has a little bit of a wider wound channel, and that is what lead wadcutters do. It basically cuts like a cookie cutter rather than just making a hole. Now, these are flat nose bullets. They do a little better than round nose bullets, but still not great.
Sorry I didn't have a long enough ballistic gel to see how far these bullets would have actually penetrated, but I did think that we saw something interesting, and that was that the target ammo had an interesting wound channel. Okay, so what are the takeaways from all this? Well, number one, I would say that if you have a Nagant Revolver, don't use it for any type of defensive situation. I know it's obvious, but this gun just isn't good for that. It is a very old design. The trigger makes it fire relatively slowly, I think, and you just don't. Now, when we talk about this, and we try to compare it to other pistols of its day, as a, World War I and surprisingly a World War II firearm, what we see is that a gun that is relatively large carries only 7 rounds of a slow-to-reload, basically spicy 380. Because you need to eject each round manually, and there's no speed loaders for this, this gun just takes a long time to reload. And stuck cases are a little bit more of a likelihood than with an autoloader. I mean, just for comparison, I have my Beretta APX-A1, and I know it has a compensator, but even with the compensator, the barrel sticks out about just as far, if not a little farther, with the grips in the same place. So this is just a big gun. It's a big gun, you don't really get much firepower. But seeing as how this was probably used more against the bourgeoisie than the actual German soldiers, I think it's probably okay. All of that being said, I am 8mm Mauser Man, and I took out and shot my Nagant Revolver. But I lived